All we've been hearing the last couple years is this trope. First, we'll get AI. Then, we'll get AGI. Then, we'll get ASI. That's artificial intelligence, artificial general intelligence, and artificial super intelligence. That's all well and good. But what does any of that shit actually mean? I think we all have an idea of what intelligence is, evidenced by the fact that there are some truly dumb beings in this world, and that has to point to some spectrum in which genius is the positive direction. So it falls out that artificial intelligence is an emulation of being undumb, and the rest of the definitions flow from there. Or do they? I'm going to structure this video a little different this time. For the first 8 minutes or so, I'm going to make my argument, and after that, I'm going to show receipts. So, if you trust me, bro, you can stick around for the arguments and bail halfway. No drama. The prefix super is commonly used to add a sense of being above, over, or beyond the thing it is attached to. A superhero is a hero who is beyond or above other heroes in some way. Modern movies like to give superheroes cheesy abilities, which allow them advantages over a regular do-gooder, like laser eyes, flying, being invisible, though that last one makes it questionable how much good one can actually do. A supervillain is usually just portrayed as a super criminal, one who's in a whole other realm of criminality than your run-of-the-mill crook. We use this prefix a lot, but the actual super part is usually up to interpretation. The most banal meaning of the word has something to do with just being better. Agamemnon gets it. Which brings us to superintelligence. Can we achieve it? Is it even real? And more importantly, if we do achieve it, will it finally help us to be better people? Or will it kill us all? It's rather confusing. And given that this entire concept is purely hypothetical at the moment, let's see if we can hone in on some sort of real definition of the word. The Oxford English Dictionary says the earliest known use of superintelligence was around 1822 in the writings of R.H. Black, but it didn't mean what you might be assuming. It wasn't a smart machine or a smart person. The original sense was a superintelligent being, especially a spiritual one. It was above intelligence. So the word was invented to talk about God, or angels, or whatever is above us on the ladder. It sat around for 200 years, meaning something divine. And then we appropriated it and pointed it at software. Which is interesting because when people say superintelligence, some of that old meaning is still stuck to the word, whether they know it or not. Anyway, if you've been paying attention to any of this, you've realized that the problem is the comparative substrate. We are biological entities with minds. When we say superintelligent in reference to a single being, we mean the full package. A superintelligent human like Reed Richards from the Fantastic Four. We don't say his brain is superintelligent, we say he is. Sticking with metaphors, if we then say that software is like the brain of a machine, then wouldn't any software, no matter how diverse or complex, running on one machine actually be considered a single entity? So that means if you're running 10,000 agents at a time in a machine, if that machine surpasses the most intelligent human in what many anthrocentrists call our main advantage, could we then say that the machine is super intelligent? That leads us to other questions. Like, who actually is the most intelligent human being alive today? Or even, who's the most intelligent human being who ever lived? Is being intelligent a product of adaptation to one's environment? So then, is knowledge-based superintelligence about being book smart? Like, when you compare people who went to school and their grades serve as a proxy for their intelligence? I mean, obviously not. So, is intelligence adaptation to a context? Or is it the velocity at which one adapts? Or some third thing? The main argument that I want to make here goes beyond the normal, we don't know what intelligence truly is or how to measure it argument. Let's just assume we can measure it in a way that adapts to the things being measured. Like, there are classes of intelligence. There's human intelligence, cat intelligence, whale intelligence, tree intelligence, and machine intelligence. Why are they separate? Because things being intelligent are considered intelligent based on how well they operate in their given environment. It just so happens that humans learned how to read and write, so that makes our environment a bit harder to define, especially after the invention of the internet. So if we have to define each thing in its own category, what about multiples of those things? Is it cheating to say that 2 humans is more intelligent than 1? Maybe not if the 2 are competing in the realm of a single person. But what about teams of people who learn to coordinate their thoughts and actions? Would a team be an entity we can consider as having intelligence? In football, otherwise known as soccer if you live west of the Atlantic and north of Mexico, the Spanish team just won the World Cup. They beat Argentina 1-0 in extra time. And they did it by being more coordinated as a team than everybody else. So in the environment of soccer teams, would the Spanish team as a team be the most intelligent thing in that environment? Wouldn't that also mean that a single person could never be as intelligent at soccer as a team? Because it takes 11 players on the pitch to even form a team. It's a level of intelligence most of us will never reach in the environment of soccer, not because we're not good enough, but because we're not enough of us. If you're following what I'm laying down, I'm trying to say that intelligence is ill-defined at best, and that causes the rest of the interpretive problems in this AI utopia/dystopia we're facing with the hypothetical superintelligence. If we go in the other direction, just as a person can't be as intelligent as a soccer team, a person is a team. Sure, you can think of yourself as one entity, but you're really made up of multiple organs working together as a team, which are made up of tissues, which are made up of cells, which are made up of nuclei and mitochondria, and so on ad infinitum, or at least as far as we could see down with our technology. Let's suffice to say that your liver is probably not going to score high on the SAT, but it's going to do really well at processing everything you drank last night. So what's the case, even for a single person being considered an intelligence, when we're an amalgamation of other things that are intelligent in their own context? Does their intelligence add up to a sum of the overall being's intelligence? No, it clearly doesn't work like that. Intelligence doesn't come with a boundary. Every place we draw a line around an intelligence is a convention that we picked, not a fact that we found. And superintelligence needs that line to exist before the word means a damn thing. You can't say something is above us on the scale until you can say where the thing stops or what the scale is even measuring. So if intelligence isn't book smarts and it can't be summed up by grouping a bunch of individuals together, then what the fuck is it? So that was my main argument and unanswered question. You can leave now or stick around and find out how humanity has actually tried to answer this question. Turns out that people have taken quite a few stabs at this. 6 of them are worth your time, and they contradict each other in useful ways. Shane Legg and Marcus Hunter, 2007. They went around and collected more than 70 published definitions of intelligence from psychologists, AI researchers, and essentially whoever had one. Then they pulled out the features that those definitions had in common and turned it into actual math, a measure that works for any machine, not just human-shaped ones. It's called universal intelligence. Roughly, it's how well an agent achieves goals across a wide range of environments. Which to me sounds like a good answer, and the kicker is that Legg went on to co-found DeepMind. Bro's got more aura than Agamemnon. Now, Francois Chollet, in 2019, wrote On the Measure of Intelligence. This one answers the exact question I asked earlier. Remember when I said, is intelligence adaptation or the velocity of adapting? Chollet says velocity. His definition is skill acquisition efficiency measured over a scope of tasks relative to your priors, your experience, and how hard the generalization is. So intelligence isn't what you can do, it's how cheaply you learned how to do it. Which means a system that's amazing at one thing because it saw a billion examples is scoring approximately 0. Hold up real quick while I grind on memorizing these test answers for tomorrow. So to get around this problem, Chollet built a benchmark out of it called ARC, specifically designed to be easy for humans and resistant to memorizing in brute force. Nick Bostrom in 2014 also weighed in with another answer to the question of where to draw the line on what an intelligent thing is. Bostrom splits superintelligence into 3 kinds. Speed superintelligence, which thinks like us but is way faster. Quality superintelligence, which is just better in a way we can't reach. And collective superintelligence, which he defines as a system of many smaller intellects whose combined performance vastly exceeds any existing cognitive system. That's my soccer team. That's my 10,000 agents on one machine. He named the category all the way back in 2014, and hype bros still don't have the decency to state which category of ASI they're actually claiming. Yeah, but naming isn't solving it. Bostrom gives the thing a label and then assumes that you can tell where one intellect stops and the next one starts, which is the exact thing that I'm saying that you can't do. All right, so what about Michael Levin? If you watched my morphogenesis stuff, you know this guy. He calls it a multi-scale competency architecture. Biological systems essentially are nested dolls, where molecular networks make subcellular components, which make cells, which make tissues, organs, organisms, and swarms. And every single level is solving problems in its own action space with its own degree of competence. He also does something that others don't do, which is actually propose a boundary. He calls it a cognitive light cone. It's the outer edge in space and time of the biggest goal that a system can work towards. Your cells have a tiny one. You have a bigger one. A civilization has a huge one. And I'm not talking about that, okay? Get your minds out of the gutter. That's a real criterion. And it's the closest thing I've found to answer for the nesting problem. Okay, let's move on to Andy Clark and David Chalmers, 1998. The Extended Mind. Yeah, I know we're not listing these things linearly. Let's just, Anyway, these two went the other direction, outward. They ask where the mind stops and where the world begins. And their answer is that it doesn't stop at your skin. Their example is a guy named Otto with Alzheimer's, who keeps everything in a notebook. If he always has it, and he always trusts it, and he always uses it, then the notebook isn't a tool that he consults, it's his memory. And it's outside his head. Literally, the movie Memento was about a guy writing notes as tattoos on his skin because bro had anterograde amnesia. So you could probably argue that the mirror was also part of dude's memory. And if you ever felt weird about how much of your own thinking now lives in a chat window, Chalmers pretty much wrote that whole 30-year-old paper about you. Okay, now we can move on to Jose Hernandez Orayo, 2017. The Measure of All Minds. He's the one who took my classes of intelligence problem head on. His whole project is what he calls universal psychometrics, which is trying to build one measurement framework for what he calls the machine kingdom. Simba would have loved this shit. He's got humans, animals, machines, enhanced humans, hybrids, and collectives all on one scale, with humans as a special case instead of the reference point. So here's what I got after all that. People have tried hard with math, with benchmarks, with experiments on actual cells, and the two best answers don't even agree on what kind of thing intelligence is. Legg and Hutter say it's a quantity you can measure across environments. Chollet says it's an efficiency, it's a rate. Those two things are not the same claim. And not a single one of those fuckers found the boundary. Levin proposed one, which is more than anybody else did, but a cognitive light cone is a description of where a thing's goals reach, not a fence you can put around an entity and say you got receipts. So my answer to whether we'll get superintelligence is that we already can, anytime we want, because the word doesn't have edges. Somebody will run enough agents in enough parallel that it beats a person at something we decided was the important thing. And they'll call it a superintelligence. And technically, nobody will be able to prove them wrong. Superintelligence is easy. It's easy because it's a claim. And you can't falsify a claim about a thing nobody can draw a line around. What's hard is intelligence. We've been chewing on that one for 200 years. Since back then, the word meant God, and even some of the most intelligent people point in different directions when asked. All I know is that when someone finally claims that they got superintelligence for real this time, it's going to be the beginning of a whole new ASI super bubble.